Hi, friends. It's Heidi M, and I'm joined by some really fun folks today. I'm going to be speaking with filmmakers and artists, Kyle Valle and Erin Áine. Nice to have both of you here and your family.
Thank you so much for having
It's
us.
great to be here.
So we're going to be talking about your film, ZombieCon Vol.1. But before we get into the film itself, I want to have you each introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your individual work and your work together.
Absolutely. So, hi, I'm Erin. I am an actress and producer and VP of Big Squid Productions, which is our production company. And we've done a lot of short films, web series, and we just released our first feature film, ZombieCon Vol.1, and it's out now on VOD everywhere in North America. Yay! And working on a second feature in post-production right now. It's watching.
And I'm Kyle Valle, director and actor, co-run Big Squid Productions with my wife. And yeah, super excited to be here and talk about ZombieCon. I was the director of both ZombieCon and the new film it's watching. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's about it.
That's good. So
And we're
maybe,
new parents, as you can see,
Yes.
yes, I love
quite
it.
chaotically.
I love the family environment. So maybe since we're going to be talking about your feature film, but just kind of maybe rewinding a little bit because obviously you worked together before. Is the idea, did this first feature come from an idea like a short film, or kind of what was that start for you for ZombieCon?
So ZombieCon Vol 1 actually came from Kyle. We were visiting our family in Orlando, going through his brother's house, and his brother is an insane collector. I mean, every like prop memorabilia, Jurassic Park, Predator, Aliens, like you name it. And his house is like a collector's museum. But Kyle was looking around and he saw, and for one reason or another, a Captain America shield stuck out to him. And he's like, wait a second, if a zombie apocalypse happened in this house, and they had to fight off the zombies. They could use all this stuff, but this shield right here, specifically like bashing a zombie with this shield, okay, this could be something interesting. And it all kind of snowballed from there.
hmm Yeah.
Very, because I was gonna say, is one of your cosplayer? Because I mean, it is situated in the convention world and cosplaying. So I kind of wanted to know if you are cosplayers or if you have people that you know who cosplay.
I've been cosplaying since I was like a little before I even knew what cosplaying was.
That's
Like
right.
my parents would take me to Disney World and I'd be dressed as Indiana Jones with the leather jacket in the 90-degree heat for the stunt show spectacular. And I used to go to conventions with my dad, like, Star Trek conventions and horror conventions in the New York, New Jersey area. Never got to Comic-Con until actually we came out with this film and we were in Los Angeles. So San Diego was just a skip over. So it was
Right.
fantastic to get to really get deeper into the con scene and be able to justify spending that money because I felt like before it was a little bit, gauche to be like, oh yeah, let's spend money while we're trying to build a family and stuff on going to conventions. Like we're not really going on vacation or anything.
Mm.
But as soon as the movie came out, it was kind of like that James Cameron situation where he justified diving down to the Titanic in a much smaller scale. We could justify going to all these cons.
That's right. Yeah, because I was gonna say, maybe we'll kind of preface it for folks who might be watching or listening, is that the film ZombieCon Vol 1 is about four friends. I think that's kind of fair to say. It's about a friend group that are very much into cosplay and then going to conventions, but things happen. There's some kind of magic situation, and we are dealing with the zombie apocalypse. So I don't want to give too much away because I think people should watch it for themselves. But I kind of wanted to talk about the convention world because it even if it's not set in the convention, the entire film, the energy was kind of captured quite well. So I kind of wanted to ask if you also had other input from friends or anyone else in terms of kind of capturing that energy of, you know, there's rivalries in terms of what people are cosplaying as. And there's this contest, which I've actually enjoyed myself when I've gone to the local cons here too.
Oh,
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah, I love the local cons and cosplay contests. And when writing the film, having gone to enough conventions to kind of, really understand the field, but I wanted to do a deeper dive. I'll shout out a documentary on YouTube actually.
Oh.
And it's the only one that I could find, and I'm pretty sure it's the only one that still exists, but it's a documentary about cosplay. And it's really well done. Takes you through the entire kind of world and explores every single aspect. So I would even if you are a, lifelong cosplayer, it's 100% worth a watch. But that kind of helped inform some of the aspects that I wasn't too familiar with in terms of just making sure that we got everything as accurate as possible. But generally speaking, I think we both kind of ripped from our own lives and kind of what we were used to and things that we had done.
Hmm.
Yeah. And of course, what makes the con more fun and the cosplay contest more fun than having a rival group right there, wearing basically stealing their ideas, stealing the same costume, the big bad, introducing him, as it were, early. So yeah, it's also having some fun with it too, for sure.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to ask about injecting the humor element into the story and also dealing with the friendship dynamics and what did you have a dialogue about this among the two of you, but also like your cast?
Well, the cast was actually like we were kind of a small family before
Mm.
we ever filmed this movie. We had done, as Erin said previously, a bunch of web series and online stuff that we were trying to build out, basically a competitor to YouTube, which I know sounds ridiculous now, but this was like 2016.
Yeah.
YouTube was kind of just getting really started, and streaming services were like a new thing. So we
Yeah.
thought, oh, this could be a great hole in the market. We managed to get like scrape together $10,000, which we did successfully create the website,
Mm,
but yeah, Google's a little more well funded than we were, so
for
A
sure.
that
little
went down.
bit, a little bit.
But we built this awesome friend group, and some of all the stars in the movie. Javier, who is played by Christian Casillas,
Hmm.
was a good friend of mine when I first got to Los Angeles. Was in an acting class with him. Same with Punky Johnson. We actually, the three of us, met at that acting class. And then Manny Luke, who plays Rocket, he was
Hmm.
our intern at Big Squid Productions as we were filming those aforementioned web series. And he actually was so talented. I was like, "Would you like to become a partner in the production company?" He was like, "Yeah." And so then we just started doing all kinds of different stuff. And that eventually led to being like, well, we need to do something bigger. We're not getting enough attention. And then the feature film was born. And I mean, I think we all bled, shed tears,
Sweat.
sweat. Like it was.
Laughed and cried a lot, but more laughter than tears.
Yeah, especially during the production, which was like a family affair. And so the friend group dynamic was both born out of, I think, it was informed by their real personalities and the way we all interacted and that kind of seriousness, but comedic kind of aesthetic. And when we were reading through the script, because we did do a couple of script read-throughs,
Okay.
uh, it was definitely that was like the intention was to capture that anime aesthetic and to capture the breadth of emotion and like feels that you would normally get from an anime. It is serious. There are serious moments, but these are friends. It's real life. Real life, even in the chaos of like a zombie apocalypse, it is funny because it's
Yes,
it's craziness.
yes, for sure. So I was gonna say, it's evident that you've had this flair for being an indie company and kind of building your community to make your films. And I also think it's kind of the charm of the film too, in terms of like, it's kind of like this, like you said, now you said it's like a family effort. So there's a look to the film that is kind of, it's colorful, but it's also very much based on practical effects on the costumes that you've designed that I will say kind of it's nice that they don't quite look like the real, characters, but tell us who they are. Let's talk about the visuals for the film and sort of what you were planning and the execution.
Would you like to?
I think you should take this one because Kyle not only directed, but he also held the camera
Right.
and shared the cinematography label. Cool.
So look wise, in terms of the costume and cosplay, you hit the nail on the head. That was like 100% the kind of effort was to make something that looked, both unique and original to cosplay and appropriate, while simultaneously not doing it like the best cosplayers out there, which I mean, I think anyone who's been to a con or seen a video on Instagram of cosplayers. Some of the cosplays are so good,
Hmm.
they trump the actual like movie costumes.
That's
Like
right.
they're so detail oriented, and because you're getting right up in front of them as opposed to having some CGI placed over or carefully
Hmm.
composing shots. Cosplayers are out in the wild. You've got a camera right in their face. They've got the smallest details to the biggest details perfectly.
Hmm.
And I was a little bit afraid that if we went too realistic with the cosplay, someone might watch it and accidentally think, "Oh, is this an Iron Man movie?" If they're in an Iron Man suit or something like that, or is this supposed to be,
Yeah.
kind of a fandom effort to do that? So merging those two worlds was definitely on purpose. And in terms of the visual aesthetic for the colors, while also being a little bit desaturated, was both a mixture of the artwork that we were able to get away with adding to
Right.
the film because of the fandoms, which was awesome to have all this like splashy artwork in our apartment. And the fact that a lot of the sets we were using just happened to be desaturated. The wall colors worked out really well. We had those nice tan walls in the apartment,
Hmm.
which, didn't overblow the color. Had it been like a bright white or, something that was a bit more vibrant, it may have clashed a little bit more or been a little bit too overpowering with the splashy backgrounds. So it's just kind of one of those things that was both intentional, but was also kind of a happy accident that happened
Right.
when we couldn't afford to repaint the apartment. The entire budget was $60,000, and that's all we had. So it was just luck, basically, that it worked out to that end.
Yes. And I think that, I mean, thank you for sharing that because I also think not everybody understands when it's indie, it doesn't, it really is. You think $60,000 might be a lot, but it really is not when you're kind of getting, into some of these effects in terms of, and also your props, because I do want to talk about your props and sort of the tools that that each of the characters kind of is using to defend themselves from the zombies and the zombies
Oh,
themselves.
well, that's true. I mean, getting the props was probably the most fun I ever had because I could never justify spending. I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so it was the
Yeah.
dark ages of anime. You had Toonami and like bootleg tapes and whatever. But I had one wall scroll growing up as a kid because they were super expensive. They were like $60 back in the
Right.
90s, which I don't even know what that would be today, like 120 or something.
Maybe more,
But
yes.
when we were building out this set and I got a little budget, like it was like we put like $1,000 or $2,000 into being able to buy artwork and, katanas and all kinds of other stuff that the cosplayers, both decoration and usable set pieces.
Yes.
I got to go on an Amazon shopping spree and I was amazed at like how much stuff you could get at such great prices. And the other problem also with the props was for all those katanas, we had to buy multiple variants
Oh, I
because
see. Hmm.
they had to be sawed in half in order to, create the practical effects, or they
Mm.
had to be dulled, or, something like the sword that Erin uses notably in that scene where she runs up on the zombie had a little tail on it.
Yes,
And
yes.
it was, these things aren't professional, like, I mean, they're professionally made, but they're not made for the rigors of a film shoot. So
Right.
things break and you've got to make sure that things look accurate from scene to scene. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but
Mm.
little bit of creativity got us over that point. And the EVA foam was a little bit expensive too, and all the plasti dip and the spray paints to paint everything.
Yes.
But I think the people at Home Depot thought I was crazy when I was like, "Yeah, I'll take two pallets of like the, you know, industrial spray paint and all this other stuff." And like,
Yes,
what are you
for
doing
sure.
with all this plasti dip? Making cosplay?
But I mean, it also, I think, kind of again, it kind of builds the aesthetic and the feel of the film of like cosplayers are doing this too, right? Like they're not everybody gets to do the fancy ones like you were saying earlier of the intricate
Exactly.
details. So it's a lot of practical knowledge and I guess the creativity you mentioned as well of, you know, what do we do with this one and how do we cut it so that we can use it for effects?
100%. And all the cosplay was actually made by myself, Erin, and Manny in
Mm,
that apartment. We were there shaving down because each character needed to have multiple variants for like battle damage.
right, right.
So yeah,
Well, except for because I love this since obviously Mama Bear in the film makes the costumes. How
Oh,
so
right. Yes.
his mom in real life actually sewed the yellow jumpsuits that the Rockets wear as their final costume change at
Right.
AnimeCon West,
Hmm.
which I thought was just a nice little behind the scenes kind of tribute to the Mama Bear in the
There is an
movie.
actual mama bear.
Oh, oh yes, and
Yes,
she's like insanely good at sewing too. She's a
that's
great seamstress.
amazing. And I think that again, right, like it is about that effort of friends getting together. And I think
Exactly.
that's sort of what I get from the film, as much as it is there's a lot of gray genre components in the film that a lot of us that grew up watching zombie films and go to cons will appreciate. But there's also this humanity side of things that I think it's interesting. I wanted to talk about, the character of Manny, who is, at times not very likable, and I know it kind of your character, Aaron, also has a bit of a fight with him, and there's like rift a little bit between the friends. And um, what was that like in terms of working on those scenes and with your colleagues, and then towards the end trying to reconcile, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really good friends in real life. And Manny, who plays Rocket, is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. Like, he would never treat, especially one of his friends, but anyone, like he treats Claire. And so it was always like, it was, I think, a bit of not only an acting challenge, and this was his first feature film, his first like real acting role, which is
Mhm.
insane. Um, so I think like he really had to put in work to come across not only as, having a bad attitude and a little bit of a temper flare, constantly negative, but, realistically so. And you can't have all the group characters be super happy all the time, just like any good friend dynamic. And then, of course, wanting sort of a redemption arc, like any good character story, but also an anime, wanting to have that transformation for the central character. It was important for Rocket to go through that. Um, but yeah, and Manny and my argument scene, the first one in the apartment where we're going at it, we just like didn't really talk that morning very much because like it would have been, I think, too hard just trying to separate, and I was impressed by his ability to come off as, so much like a jerk during that scene because it is so unlike Manny.
Yes.
Um, and then there we go. Yeah. And then what I like too is one of the stories that he's relayed that I forgot during one of the filming scenes in ZombieCon was before the neighbor comes over as a zombie. Spoiler alert if you haven't
Yes.
seen it. My character, my character is debriefing with the other Rockets what just went down. I'll leave it
Mhm.
at that. And it's absolute chaos and stress. And for certain scenes like that one, there was some separation. We had lunch break right before. I made sure to separate myself. I was in my own world preparing myself as an actor. And I forgot that this happened. Manny reminded me. He walked over and he was trying to ask me a question about set. And he was like, "Hey, Aaron, so and so, so and so." And I just held my hand up and I said, "Not right now,
Right
Rocket."
now.
Referring to him in character. He's like, "Oh, okay, all right. We're getting serious now, like where we're going." But yeah, it was, I won't even say it was difficult because I mean we were so close and he and I were so involved in the production as crew members as well as actors that
Right.
we had a second, like we wouldn't even need a second language. We would just sort of look at each other and know, oh, you got to take care of this. I'll go take care of that. Oh, there's a costume piece missing. I got to go chase down an actor who's hasn't shown up. It was just like we were a family.
Right.
So yeah, it was both difficult and I think more on his part because he had the hard job of being a jerk and it's so unlike him. But also, like we knew and trusted each other so well. It really flowed very well.
Hmm. Yeah. And so now I've been thinking about how you've also had a chance you went to San Diego Comic Con, and the film's been kind of making the rounds. And I wanted to ask you, what's it like for you in terms of you're both writers and you're the director, Kyle, but also in the film, and any reactions you've heard, or things that sort of are exciting you about how audiences are responding.
I've been blown away. I mean, I think, over the course of a 10-year post-production journey, uh, there were times where I would like just crawl into bed and like cry probably more than once. Like, this movie's never going to get finished. It's never going to get out there. No one's ever going to see it or appreciate it. And since it's been out there and it's been seen, to hear people's reactions, stemming even the negative reactions to the positive. It's just fantastic that people are seeing the film. I mean, a year ago, I was telling Erin, I'm like, if I could just buy this film on iTunes and add it to my collection, that would be the peak of, success on this
Right.
10-year journey. But
Mhm.
it's been overwhelming, the amount of support and the amount of love that we've gotten, especially from the con community, who is really understands the characters, understands the world, and outside of the con community, horror and zombie fans who are, the characters have resonated with, and they've spoken so glowingly about it. It's I mean, it's euphoric. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, you work on something for 10 years, you
Right.
put yourself out there, you put your heart into it, and you put your soul into it, and to see people enjoy it, I
Mhm.
mean, that's the thing that we've been fighting for
It
for
it's this
a decade.
world that we've just been working on shaping and shifting and watching it almost like a baby, like grow up and become so much better and so much closer to how we always saw it in our minds. And to finally get to have it out there and for people to experience it like when you watch a movie and now you've had this memory, like you've just lived through it with the characters, to
Mhm.
get to watch people speak about their journey with this film and these characters has been, like Kyle said, euphoric, mind-blowing, and I also want to shout out the horror film community, especially the horror film reviewers are so wonderful. I had no idea how tight-knit, and I've done a lot of horror films, but I was never marketing them, and I had no idea how tight-knit and responsive and how like strong of a community they really are. Like
Mhm.
they follow each other's review accounts and comment and support each other and are just like such a family. So shout out to the indie horror scene. They're incredible.
Yes, definitely the independent outlets are, I mean, it's similar to, what's in the film of, we think we're outcasts, right? Doing
Right.
I mean, I was never a cosplayer, but I know, like the whole nerdy side of things. So I think there's a lot of layers that any of us could kind of find something to appreciate in the film. So what I've noticed online, because I have been also kind of following things online a little bit, is like people are saying, "Oh, Vol 1, is there going to be like another one?" And I know it's been 10 years of, your life that you devoted to this. Well, do you think you move on to another version of the story, or I know you're working on new films, yeah.
So we actually have written volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, sorry,
She wants the
and
mic.
and and volume 5. She
Yeah.
clearly wants to be included in
He's
these.
gonna be in one of them.
Right. So we've got all the scripts done,
Mhm.
and we would love to see the characters kind of evolve. I made sure that when we were writing the second one, we knew that there was a time gap. So the second one's written with, at right now, a 10-year time gap. All our actors have aged beautifully. So we could probably go
Okay.
make it look like it just happened, but
Oh gosh,
letting that
thank you.
but letting the world kind of breathe and evolve, because a lot of zombie movies take you through that first 24-hour 1 week period where you see, okay, this is what's happened with the zombie apocalypse. It's trying to reshape things that have already been done, and giving it a nice 10-year time gap shows you a little bit of what's happened since the post-apocalypse. They live in kind of a shanty town, rebuilt vehicles and rebuilt houses with, reforged materials that they found from
Mhm.
different cities. And our characters have also had an opportunity to develop all the emotions over those 10 years that would be natural given the circumstance and situation. I would just give Claire's character, I'll only speak about that, but she has come, to have this huge guilt complex about now starting the zombie apocalypse and trying to emotionally grapple with that. And has a little bit of that Sarah Connor-esque, vibe where she has to kind of fix the mistake and take down all the zombies single-handedly, which is a huge propelling factor, especially in the next two films.
I
Mhm.
can't wait to play that role. I am so excited.
So there's a nugget for folks if they're kind of itching to see if this happen or come back. I guess the four friends and kind of how they evolve. And I think that's probably an element in these types of films within the genre of horror and sci-fi, and that you can explore different ways of world building, right?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
it's so wonderful. Absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's
little bit
it's the
more.
most fun. Yeah, you can get to totally repaint society and explore a lot of things that would be maybe out of bounds, or it would be difficult, I should say, to put that many emotions
Hmm.
into a story that is contextualized within the realism of our current world, just because, you know, how often does someone actually start an apocalypse? Like that's, it's not really something that's going to be transversable to an actual story. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to go deeper on the emotions, on the character development, and explore things that you generally would not be able to even come close to without making a movie utterly ridiculous.
Right, like deeply human story, and that goes over and comments a lot on society, but it's wrapped up in a shiny genre, crazy, outlandish horror with action and sci-fi and comedy type package.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what draws different types of communities into these types of movies, to be honest, right? Um,
Absolutely.
well, I mean, I think I'm going to leave it there in terms of talking about this film, and we'll look forward to your next one. But if we want to keep in touch in terms of the journey for ZombieCon Ball 1 or even yourselves, what would be the best way for us to do so? The
Best way
website?
for ZombieCon across all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, X, is at ZombieCon Movie. No punctuation or anything.
Mhm.
And then the website is ZombieCon Vol.1, the number 1.com. And I run the socials. DM us, reach out. I'll be the one answering. We wear a lot of hats,
You wear a lot of
indie
hats.
filmmaking,
Definitely.
at an indie publication, you know that as well.
Well, it just makes us versatile, I think. It's the way
Exactly.
I
That's it.
see it.
Exactly. Never thought that I would be in marketing feature films, and here we are.
And here we are. Well, I'm glad we found each other and we were able to have this chat. Well, I'll make sure that people know where to tag you and, or find you and follow you. So we'll stay in touch and see what happens next.
And thank you so much for inviting us on and for
Yes.
checking out the film. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So much fun. Thank you
Thank
to
you so much.
the
Thank you.